Once upon a time there was truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. Status quo. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live Monday, August 26th, New York City. This is Status Quo in the hizzy. Hope you're having a lovely, lovely day. I had a nice weekend. We had a nice little live chat yesterday, nice little marathon, slightly disrupted by technical difficulties, but we figured it out thanks to Ty's help, and we are back up and better than ever, I would say. And ooh, what a day. What a day in the news. Is something going on in politics right now? Possibly a progressive surge for Bernard Sanders, and if you want to classify Elizabeth Warren as a progressive, Elizabeth Warren as well. We're going to get to the new polling, which obviously shows former Vice President Joseph Biden sliding fast and furious out of first place. Of course, it's only one poll. It's only one poll. However, Joe Biden's 13-point decline in the latest Monmouth University poll, I think, is instructive of what is going on overall as far as really the momentum in this campaign. Adrian, Jordan, how you managed to make the opera singers thing? She seems like tops. Adrian. Yo, Adrian. I'm sure you've heard that before. That is my dear, dear friend, Carmen Cancel. She's a wonderful opera singer. She's working on getting her website up and running. When she has her website up and running, I will definitely be promoting it. Her and I wrote the lyrics together, and I hope you guys like the opera song. It was very, very, very fun to make. And I thought, let's do something a little differently. I'm sure eventually we'll make like a grunge rock, guerrilla journalism type of opener as well. But I like the opera for now. So before we get to it, remember, you got a checklist. I need all 300 of you watching, every one of you, smash the like button. It's right under the video. Thumbs up button. The more people that press that like button, the more people that will see the live stream that aren't currently seeing it in their feed. We want as many people to see this as possible, and unfortunately, YouTube is not making it easy. YouTube is not at all recommending us to people. They're not showing our videos or live streams in people's feeds. So you can help with that. Press that like button right there, the thumbs up, and make sure if you're watching on your phone, all you got to do, cancel out of the live chat for a second, press the thumbs up, and then go back into the live chat. Thank you, Joseph Ballin, getting us started in today's Super Chat. GOP Congressman in Swing District retires, Wisconsin. Yes, Sean Duffy retired, the former Real World star. Real World Boston, I think it was, retired. Not going to miss him. However, it's a very, very Republican district, so you're probably getting another Republican. Don't know why he resigned. Pretty abrupt. Might have something to do with the scandal, but not for me to discuss. I don't really care. So, this is a super chat. If you're feeling super, let me know. I am standing because my back doesn't feel super, so I will take pity super chats for sure. Secondly, right after this live stream at 7:30 Eastern Time, that's 7:30 Eastern Time, we will be having our monthly call just with our paying members. That's statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. Wonderful picture of me with my eyes closed and Jen. We are going to be 7:30 Eastern Time. If you are a member or a patron, you will get an invite link to join us. It's always a good time. I think last time we had 50 of you join us. Hopefully we get even more than that tonight. We answer your questions, comments, concerns, take your ideas. It's very intimate, and we should rename it the TMI call because I definitely share too much information. If you're not a member, become a member before 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. You'll get the link to join us. You can become a member to Status Coup for as low as $5 a month. Is real in the field journalism worth $5 a month or $10. We have different plans. You get different stuff for different amounts, or $179 annually. Hopefully we get some of you to sign up before our call tonight, and we just passed 700 paying members. So we're at 702 right now. Now the march to 1,000 begins. We got to get to 1,000 before the end of the year. I don't care what I have to do to get there, short of getting in bed with the plutocrats. We won't do that. But we will well, we're not going to get in bed with you either. But we'll have a sleepover if you become a member. Statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. And we're also on Facebook, so hello to my Facebook friends that are watching on Status Coup, and we're also on Periscope. So we're everywhere, all over the place. Thank you for watching. Now, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth, you know what, before I get to the polls, I have to show you something, folks, because this is truly alarming. It is truly alarming what's going on here. And honestly, when put in conjunction with the polls, I personally think the Democratic Party needs to start calling for Joe Biden to drop out of the race. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm not saying that to mock him. I'm not even saying it based on his politics. I'm saying it because this guy isn't well. It's okay. I'm not wishing him not to be well, but he's not well. And anyone with eyes and common sense could see this. Thank you, Smash Dragon 11, $5 in the super chat. Bernie released his plan on journalism in CJR.org. I didn't know Bernie had a plan for journalism. That's fantastic. We'll get to that. I'll look into that. I didn't even know about that. Am I what?
Are you sharing that image of the tweets?
Oh, the live chat? Oh, yeah. We have the live comments now on screen, too, so you can read them. If you're lazy and you don't want to read them on the right, you can read them right on the screen.
I'm talking about like when you're reading, when you're shouting people out.
Oh, okay. So I also now want to show you, I don't know who Joe Biden was interviewing with, but watch this clip and you tell me if something is wrong.
But it has the same position I have. The position I have is to rebuild Obamacare, provide for a public option. And he's wrong. And I don't know anybody who has the same position I have. The position I have is to rebuild Obamacare, provide for a public option, and increase the subsidies to get in the market. Anybody has the same position I have. The position I have is to rebuild Obamacare, provide for a public option, and increase the subsidies to get in the marketplace so that you don't pay any more than $1,000 in a copay if that occurs, and allow anybody who wishes to have the policy they have with their employer, if they like it, to be able to keep it, if the employer keeps it, and or if they don't, they can join the alternative we provide for the Medicare option. And so anybody who is in a position where they're on Medicaid, they automatically be enrolled with no cost. In addition to that, we also have a mechanism to control drug prices. You know, we're no longer using chemical-based things. All this thing we're dealing with, cancers and other issues relating to the immune system, are bio-oriented. They're very expensive, and we should set up a system, which alternative we provide for the Medicare option. And so anybody who
I'm going to play this one more time for you.
Is in a position where they're on Medicaid, they automatically be enrolled with no cost. In addition to that, we also have a mechanism to control drug prices. You know, we're no longer using chemical-based things. All this thing we're dealing with, cancers and other issues relating to the immune system, are bio-oriented. They're very expensive, and we should set up a system, which I propose, which I will if I'm elected president, that allows the folks at the folks at Health and the Health Department in the United States.
As you could see, and again, this is not to mock Joe Biden. This is not to say anything about Joe Biden as a person. I don't wish him I don't wish poor health on anybody, even people I don't agree with politically. But for the love of God, this guy, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's clear he's stuttering. It's clear he's not capable of saying the word. I think what he was trying to say is mechanism, but he was stuttering over that word. And then he stuttered several more times. And he is forgetting things because he closes his eyes and basically shuts down. And to me, this is very simple, folks, before we get to the polls or anything. And remember, we got 450 people watching. We have 250 of you who have pressed the like button. So we need 200 more of you. Press the thumbs up button right under the video. But he can't construct sentences. He can't speak clearly. He's forgetting words. He's forgetting thoughts. It is irresponsible of the corporate media to keep pretending that these are gaffes. I don't care if the corporate media jumps ships and goes to push Kamala Harris hard again. I don't care if they jump ship and go to push Elizabeth Warren, which we'll have a story on later. But if the sincere, most important thing that we keep on hearing about is we have to beat Donald Trump, that's the only thing that matters. Joe Biden's wife said it. Even if you don't agree with my husband, even if you don't, even if you like somebody else, the central thing, who's going to beat Donald Trump? Look in front of your screen. I just played it for you. He can't complete sentences without stuttering. This could happen for many reasons. It could happen because when somebody who clearly is not all there cognitively anymore is traveling a lot, there's a lot of wear and tear on your body, on your mind, and you're struggling. But you cannot look at Bernie Sanders and say the same thing. That's not me saying it as a Bernie supporter. That's just, we all have eyes. It's one thing if you mess up the city you're in. Yesterday he said he was in Vermont when he was standing in front of a diner in New Hampshire. But when it's clear that you're having cognitive malfunctions in real time, at a certain point, journalists need to stop. Oh, I got to protect my access. It's a fact. Look in front of you. These are not gaffes. Gaffes are when, you put your foot in your mouth, you say things that are a little politically incorrect maybe, you sniff young children's hairs. Well, that's not a gaffe, that's just creepy. But this is a train wreck. If this guy gets anywhere near the Democratic nomination, not only are you going to have depressed turnout as far as the presidential race for Democrats, you might have depressed turnout for the Senate races, the congressional races, because it's top down. So if you have excitement or lack of excitement for the presidential nominee, Democrat or Republican, it goes all the way down where you see depressed turnout for Senate races, for congressional races. So, Richard Rodriguez, status quo, my first time here. What's your affiliation? You know what my affiliation, Richard, is? Justice journalism. I am a proud progressive, and we are guerrilla journalists in the form of justice journalism. That's my affiliation. I think Jen would have to admit. Agree. So, what you just saw, and if you watched us yesterday, I showed you some other clips. He's forgetting where he is. He said, he was talking about his health care plan and said, oh yeah, we're going to make sure it's, poor quality. I'm assuming he meant to say good quality. So then you have this news of the Monmouth University poll. And I want to be fair. Because I've been critical of polls like Monmouth. So we can't, cheer for polls like Monmouth, but then when it says something favorable about Bernie Sanders, oh, Monmouth is great. So there have been concerns. About this poll. I'm just being honest. But you look at from the last time this poll came out, June 2019, Bernie Sanders up 6 points. Now in 20%. Elizabeth Warren up 5 points. She's up 5%. Joe Biden was at 32, now at 19. A 13-point drop. 13-point drop. An important thing to note here. Why is it showing my face above this? I don't know why my face is showing here. Do you see that?
What?
Do you see this? Hold on a second.
Yeah, you must have didn't scale this right. Oh, yeah. That's because you got this on there. So let's just do like this. That would kind of be what we would do with the image that we just did. What did I call that image? I just left an image. All right. And then it'll block it so people won't see it.
So, from this poll, Biden has suffered across-the-board decline in his support since June. He lost ground with white Democrats, down from 32 to 18, and voters of color, down from 33 to 19. And we've been told Joe Biden's strongest category is among African-American voters. Whoever is going to win the Democratic nomination has to do well among African-American voters. Right there, he's down 14% among black voters. Also among voters without a college degree, from 35% to 18%. To me, that's the biggest alarm bells for Joe Biden in this whole thing. The African-American vote is important, the fact that he is dropping in that, but to be down by that much among those with only a high school degree, well, those are Trump's voters. That is mostly the Rust Belt. So if he's down that much among those with just high school degrees, where are those going to? I would argue the majority of them are going to be going to Bernie Sanders, not Elizabeth Warren, because Bernie Sanders' numbers thus far have been strongest among those with just a high school degree, which, by the way, is the majority of Americans, only have high school degrees. So let's go back to this.
If you have any other images like that, you probably need to do it too.
Hold on. Biden poll. So he's down among men, 38 to 24%, women down 29 to 16%, and among voters under 50 years old, from 21% under the age of 50 to 6%. talk about the bingo candidate here. So, not criticizing our viewers or friends above the age of 50. We love you very much, and I'm already feeling like I'm over the age of 50 based on my back. However, by the data, most older Americans tend to vote for candidates like Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, the establishment, but you can't have just 6% support among those under the age of 50. That's anemic. You can't win a nomination that way. He's also down. Most of Biden's lost support in these groups shifted equally towards Sanders and Warren. Okay, that's fair. Then we have same thing, yeah. So then I want to read something to you from this poll that stood out to me. Give me a second. If I can find it. And remember, this is a super chat, so if you do feel super or just mildly okay, I'll take even a mild okay, let us know in the super chat. So this is interesting too. Biden's drop in support is coming disproportionately from later states that have less impact on the process. But if this trend continues, it could spell trouble for him in the early states if it undermines his claim to being the most electable candidate. This could benefit someone like Harris, who remains competitive in the early states and could use a strong showing there to propel her into the top tier. Is that what I wanted? No, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. Here we go. Biden lost support over the last 2 months among Democrats who call themselves moderate or conservative, down 18 points from 40% to 22%, with the shift among these voters accruing to both Sanders from 10% to 20% and Warren from 6% to 16%. So both Sanders and Warren are up both by 10 points among voters who call themselves either moderate or conservative. Biden also lost support among liberals from 24 to 15, but this group's backing is scattered to a variety of other candidates. Sanders has picked up a few points among liberal voters from 17 to 21, while Warren has held fairly steady, also known as down a point, 25 to 24, and Harris has not budged with this group, 10 to 11%. Why I wanted to show you that, so the whole thing, the whole case that the Biden lovers have been making is Joe Biden is the one who could pick up those moderate voters in the Rust Belt. Thank you, Lawrence Johnson, $5. I feel mildly okay. Well, thank you very much. Anthony Young, $50 in the super chat. Dinner on me. Anthony, I don't spend $50 on dinner, but tonight I might. No, I'm not. Thank you very much. That's a really generous donation. We really appreciate it. Did I miss any other super chats? I hope not. Keep it coming if you can. Oh, Giovanni, Liz Warren is a Chihuahua, excitable, hyper, barks a lot, but too skittish to bite any of the big dogs she barks at. She's a faux aggressive opportunist. Giovanna, thank you for the $5. I am not going to call Elizabeth Warren a dog. I don't personally agree with that. However, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what Elizabeth Warren is doing that I think screams fraud. We'll get to that in a little bit later, but thank you for the $5, but I can't call her a Chihuahua, sorry. Lady Hawk, $1.99. Jordan, my 40-year-old back has felt 50 since 2009. Oh, God. Honestly, at this point, I don't know what to tell you. I went to physical therapy earlier. Apparently, my spine is now shifted to the left. I don't know how that happened, so now I have to do a certain exercise like this, stand against the wall, and go like that. 4 sets a day. This is not a Jewish samba. This is a physical therapy exercise. But hopefully it helps. So, Joe Biden, the whole argument for Joe Biden, from CNN, MSNBC, the Washington Post, all these freaking corporate outlets that are slobbering all over him again, is he could pick up those moderate voters in the Rust Belt. He could pick up those Trump Democrats. First of all, I've said, and Status Quo has said, there's no such thing as moderate voters in the Rust Belt. This is a bullshit, demonetized, swear jar, super chat. This is a bullshit thing that the corporate media makes up, because if there was all these moderate voters in the Rust Belt, then we'd have President Clinton right now. And unless I'm seeing something different, Hillary Clinton right now is probably in the woods with her dog. She's not in the White House. So there is not this thing of a moderate explosion in the Rust Belt. And by the way, just a quick reminder, we got 645 people watching right now. 400 of you have pressed that like button. Smash the like button. The more people that press like, the more people that will see this live stream. But that is why I have been saying all along, there is no moderate voter to be gotten in the Rust Belt. The voters in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Ohio, throw in Iowa there, they voted for Trump not because he was a moderate, not because he was proposing, milquetoast centrism. He spoke like a progressive on economics. End the wars, let's get out of other countries. I'm going to repeal NAFTA. I'm taking it to Goldman Sachs. This isn't a very Republican thing of me to say, but to hell with it. We got to cover everybody. Universal health care. Do you remember these things? Because I was there. I was covering all these rallies. Donald Trump, he's full of it, obviously. He didn't mean a word. He ran as an economic populist, and that's why he got these voters. Voters could smell a neoliberal fraud. Voters could smell a faux aggressive in Hillary Clinton. Stronger together. That's not an economic plan. That's a bumper sticker that means nothing. So the fact that Joe Biden is losing among moderates only shows you what, if the corporate media would actually report facts, we have known for years. Bernie Sanders does incredibly well among independents. Last time I checked, independents are what you need to win a general election. Yes, you need your base to turn out, but you also need independents. Bernie Sanders has always done incredibly well among independents. Bernie Sanders also, in terms of Democrats, has always generally done well among Republicans. I mean, he doesn't have like 75% support among Republicans, but last poll I looked at, he was in the 30s among Republicans. That ain't bad for a boogeyman socialist. Thank you for the super chat. PJ Coin, Bernie gave Mitch a right grilling. Yes, we're going to cover that too, probably tomorrow. The Roboti won $9.99 in the super chat. Thanks for doing real journalism. Thanks for appreciating real journalism. And by the way, I might be on the camera, but Jen is in the super chat. So thank Jen as well. She's doing a great job, and she did a report yesterday that we posted. So to button up the Joe Biden part of this, another super interesting part of this poll that totally basically just destroys the whole corporate media narrative. Now I got to go through 25 David Sirota tweets to find it because I didn't save it. This guy tweets more than anyone I've ever met. Hold on. He had a tweet. Darn it. Can't find it. Hey, Jen, can you find me the tweet that shows, oh, you know what? What am I talking about? I could just Control F. Sorry, we do these things live, but I'll find it. This is very important. Medicare. Here we go. This is super important and basically just destroys the corporate media narrative. And, the Washington Post, eat dust. On the issue of health care, 58% of party voters say it is very important to them that the Democrats nominate someone who supports Medicare for all. Not Biden care for some, Medicare for all. Not Kamala for the people of Wall Street care, which is not Medicare for all. It's gift wrapped as Medicare for all. But what it really is another wet kiss to the insurance industry, gift wrapped as a fraudulent Medicare for all. So 58% say, very important to them, that the Democrats nominate someone who supports Medicare for all. Another 23% say it is somewhat important. 10% say it is not important. 58 plus 23 would give us 68, 78. That is 81% either fiercely want a candidate that backs Medicare for all or relatively feel their candidate. That's 81%. But wait a minute. I thought all along, I've been told, I've been conditioned, people don't want health care as a right in this country. That's communist garbage. People don't want, the socialized boogeyman. That's terrible. Matty Perry, $1.99 in the Super Chat. Jordan, how many times have I been correct? Matty Perry, I can't count the amount of times you've been correct. Thank you for the $1.99. Lady Hawk, $9.99. I'm a judge of election from Eastern Pennsylvania here. Bernie's Fox News town hall happened in my hometown, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. We feel the burn here. Fantastic. I'm sure I'll be in Bethlehem at some point. But to put this into perspective here, the bottom line is this. Both based on the first clip that I showed you from Joe Biden, where he's clearly not well, folks. And you know what? Honestly, I'm going to play it one more time because we have a lot of new viewers. So work with me for a minute as I play you this clip. I just want to show you, it's not only that Joe Biden is falling in the polls, it's that Joe Biden is not healthy enough to run for president. And it is the Democratic Party's responsibility to remove him from this run for president and have somebody who is cognitively well. I don't say this to be mean. I don't say this to be bitter. I say this because it's very, very clear he is not well enough to run. And then we could have a debate between actual progressivism in Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren's knockoff brand of progressivism, which I'm going to get to in a minute. One more time for the new viewers. This was Joe Biden speaking with a local news outlet.
That occurs, and allow. I think he's wrong, and I don't know anybody who has the same position I have. The position I have is to rebuild Obamacare, provide for a public option. I think he's wrong, and I don't know anybody who has the same position I have. The position I have is to rebuild Obamacare, provide for a public option, and increase the subsidies to get in the marketplace so that you don't pay any more than $1,000 in a copay if that occurs, and allow anybody who wishes to have the policy they have with their employer, if they like it, to be able to keep it, if the employer keeps it, and or if they don't, they can join the alternative we provide for the Medicare option. And so anybody who is in a position where they're on Medicaid, they automatically be enrolled with no cost. In addition to that, we also have a mechanism to control drug prices. You know, we're no longer using chemical-based things. All this thing we're dealing with cancers and other issues related to the immune system are bio-oriented. They're very expensive, and we should set up a system, which I propose, which I will if I'm elected president, that allows the folks at the folks at Health and the Health Department in the United States, HHS, to be able to go out and bring together outside experts and make a judgment when there's a patent being sought by a drug company, what that patent.
He's clearly not well. I don't know what else to say. And I don't want to keep having to qualify it with, I'm not happy that he's not well. This is not to mock Joe Biden. I draw the line. We could disagree politically. We could think he's part of the problem, but I'm not wishing Joe Biden poorly. But this guy, you can't put this man on a stage with a quasi-fascist. You could say a lot of things about Donald Trump's mental state. You could call him a megalomaniac. You could call him a diagnosed narcissist. You could call him someone with probably split personality disorder. You could say a lot of things, but he does have energy. He does have energy. He isn't consistently stumbling through his words. And I'm not saying for the corporate media to, just call for Biden to drop out and then jump on the Bernie train. If they want to push whatever faux progressive next, if they want to jump back on Kamala Harris, if they want to jump on the Beto train again, maybe Mayor Pete, stick with your corporate faux aggressive candidates. But how is it? It is so clear. And to me, it is irresponsible. It is irresponsible of the media to keep pretending that this is just Joe being Joe. This is somebody who's 76 years old and is clearly just not all there cognitively. I don't know what to tell you. Before I move on to the next topic, Matthew Jones, $20 in the Super Chat. Thank you very much. Bromelain is an enzyme that will help your back problems. It eats scar tissue and helps rehydrate soft tissue between the joints. On Amazon, as bad as it is from now, vitamins, Take it. The pain will go away. I promise. Matthew, if you are right, I'm going to have to reach out to you personally. Hey, Jen, can you write that down for me or copy it so I can look at it later? I'm willing to try anything right now. So thank you very much, Matthew, for the $20 and the advice, because my back is really, really giving me problems right now. So, what's that?
I love when you
Yeah, I will. Before I move on, we got 685 people watching, so some of you in the back might have missed it. Right after this, 7:30 Eastern, we have our monthly members only call. So sorry for you non-members. This is a perk of being a Status Quo member. And as to remind you, we are growing through you, the viewers. And some people say, Jordan, stop asking for money. Stop asking people to become members. Hey, do me a favor. Go jump over a bridge, okay? I don't want to hear it because you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't complain that the corporate media is corrupt and the corporate media has been hijacked by, corporations and banks and oil companies and all this, but then complain that I have the temerity to say, hey, I want to ask you for money transparently, not just money for the sake of money, but money so we could go report in the field and cover the things no one else is covering. Would you rather me beg Goldman Sachs? Would you rather us beg Pfizer? Would you rather us beg Facebook? Would you rather us beg Raytheon? So, I don't know what to tell you. If you want a real independent media outlet to go in the field, not just cover the campaign, but to cover Flint, Newark, other water problems, pipeline fights, we have to grow. And we are growing through you. So, membership call, become a member, statusquo.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5, and tonight is our call, 7:30 Eastern. If you become a member before 7:30 Eastern, you will get the invite. It's through Zoom. You'll get the invite for our members call. And just so you all know, it's for patrons also. So if you're already a Patreon subscriber, you'll get the invite. So, Elizabeth Warren. She, to be fair, did well in that poll. She's tied with Bernie in that poll. And ultimately, the ultimate fight might come down to Bernie versus Elizabeth Warren for this nomination. That's a fight, if I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter, I'm very happy to have. Because I think at the end of the day, I don't think Elizabeth Warren is as bad as Joe Biden. I don't think Elizabeth Warren is Hillary Clinton. But frankly, I think authenticity is something that's very important. It's what has attracted people to Bernie Sanders. It's what Trump voters thought they were getting. And I think if it came down to Elizabeth Warren versus Bernie Sanders, it will become clear that Elizabeth Warren is politically a calculator. She basically is going with the wind. And this New York Times article, which interestingly enough, the headline was changed. Isn't that interesting? Originally, this headline said, Elizabeth Warren is courting the Democratic Party establishment. Well, it was somehow changed. I tend to, since I used to work in corporate media, my theory is the Elizabeth Warren campaign called the New York Times and complained because they don't want it to look like she is courting the Democratic elite in this country to get elected. So the New York Times quietly, they do this a lot, changed the headline from Elizabeth Warren is courting the Democratic establishment to what Elizabeth Warren is quietly telling Democratic donors. And, if you're an Elizabeth Warren supporter, you might read this article and say, oh my God, she's trying to win. How dare her? But I read it a little bit differently. And thank you very much, Morbid, $1 in the super chat. We just got Dylan Barnes Deanna, $1.99 in the super chat. Status Quo cares about Flint. Yes, we do. We certainly do. So, I'm going to read you some of this and tell you what I think is the most problematic parts of this. If I could find it. When Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts addressed a few hundred donors last week at a fundraiser for the DNC, she called for, quote, big structural change and hurled her familiar populist lightning bolts at the forces of concentrated wealth. But Ms. Warren did not attend the event just to recite her stump speech. She had another, more tailored message for the Democratic check writers, state party leaders, and committee members who were gathered at the elegant Fairmont, San Francisco. Quote, last year I was running for re-election, but I didn't hold back, she said, reminding attendees that in the midterms, she helped more than 160 congressional candidates and nearly 20 hopefuls in governor's races. Quote, in fact, I raised or gave more than 11 million helping get Democrats elected up and down the ballot around the country, and sent contributions to all 50 state parties, the national committees, and the redistricting fight. So, to tell you the truth, to paraphrase what Elizabeth Warren means when she told the DNC that, I've been there for you, now you need to be there for me. That's what she's talking about in that statement to the DNC, in my opinion. So, okay, you might say, well, Jordan, she's just telling the DNC that she has supported Democratic Party candidates. What's wrong with that? Nothing tremendously wrong with that. To me, where we run into issues is later on in this story. Now, her point was easy to grasp. While her liberal agenda may be further left than some in the Democratic establishment would prefer, she is a team player who is seeking to lead the party, not stage a hostile takeover it. As Ms. Warren steadily rises in the polls, she is working diligently to protect her left flank, lining up with progressives on nearly every issue and trying to diffuse potential attacks from supporters of Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Quote, I'm with Bernie, she responds when asked about what is perhaps the most contentious issue of the primary race, Medicare for All. I've already told you and reported several times she's been all over the map on Medicare for All. One day she says, yeah, let's just get everybody inside a room and we'll work it out. This is essentially what she said at CNN's town hall. Well, we got to get everybody together around the table. You know, these great pharmaceutical executives and these great hospital people and these great private health insurance executives. Let's just get everyone to the table with, you know, the working people of America, the labor unions, and we'll all just be very, you know, genuine and diplomatic, and we'll come to a consensus. This is what she told CNN in her original town hall. Then, during the debate, when there was more eyeballs, she raises her hand to end private health insurance. Then, when asked about it after the fact, she's not so strong on whether she wants to end private health insurance. So, if health care is your number one issue, and based on the midterm election results, 41% of those who voted in the midterm election said healthcare was their top issue. It was the top issue of any other issue in the midterm elections. If that's your top issue, Elizabeth Warren is not with Bernie. She says she is, depending on the day. To me, it gets more problematic as we read on in this story. Yet publicly, and even more in private, she is signaling to party leaders that far from wanting to stage a political revolution in the fashion of Mr. Sanders, she wants to revive the beleaguered Democratic National Committee and help recapture the Senate while retaining the House in 2020. In phone calls, text messages, and small gatherings before her rallies, as well as in one-on-one meetings over hot tea at her Washington condominium, Ms. Warren is simultaneously courting and assuring Democratic town leaders, statewide officials, and the chiefs of the country's largest unions. Speaking of unions, Bernie Sanders just got the big union endorsement today. The United Electrical, Radio, and Machine Workers of America, which is a 35,000 member union, announced that it's backing Sanders, which is Bernie Sanders' first union endorsement. So here you have Elizabeth Warren in phone calls, text messages, over tea, is basically courting, hobnobbing, doing everything that she can to endear herself to the establishment. There's no other way to say it. She's doing everything humanly possible to court, to endear herself, to suck up. And how politics works is she's doing this now, and there is an implicit, when you basically play patty cakes with the establishment, and I'm not saying every single person she's meeting with is, horrendous and evil and corrupt. I'm sure there's some fine people she's meeting with. But when you do this, what you're saying is, if you back me now, if you endorse me now, I'll be there for you as president. You need something rammed into a bill for your community, I'll get it for you. You need a little, earmark? something earmarked into a bill, a little, what do they call that? Something meat, they used to call that gets thrown into a bill, to sweeten it, to get votes. You do for me, I'll do even more for you. That's what she's saying. Bernie Sanders does not operate that way. Bernie Sanders has not, and you could say, some might say, well, because he doesn't operate this way, this is why he didn't win in 2016, and this is why he's not going to win this time. Some people would say that he doesn't want to play the game, and he doesn't want to basically bend over for the Democratic bourgeoisie of America. Well, frankly, I think, who you associate yourself with, who you are trying to court, who you are basically playing patty cake with over tea, who you encircle yourself around says a lot about you. Thank you, Sigmund. Pork. I meant to say pork. So Elizabeth Warren doing all this, text messages and phone calls and having tea with the Democratic elites of America, and these are establishment party leaders, says to me, not only is Elizabeth Warren not interested in changing anything structurally, she thinks we could regulate our way out of systemic corruption in America. No. I explained this yesterday. We had a regulatory body that was supposed to be looking over big banks. Didn't happen, and we had the 2008 financial crash. We have a regulatory body that's supposed to look over food and water. Well, and the air and the environment. Well, Monsanto has a little bit more power than those regulatory bodies. So does ExxonMobil. So you could regulate till you're blue in the face until you get the money out of politics, which she is frankly not that strong on. She has said openly, listen, I'm not unilaterally disarming. If I become the nominee, I'll take that corporate money. And I will say it, and I will say it loudly. Personally, I would rather my candidate lose not taking the money than my candidate win taking the money. Because if my candidate wins taking the money, I know my candidate is no longer my candidate. I know that candidate is no longer only indebted to me. I know my candidate because he or she already made that rationalization among themselves. And this is all stuff that people like Elizabeth Warren and Barack Obama, they made rationalizations with themselves and justifications like, well, in this one instance, I got to do it. But it's for the greater good. It's so I get elected. And then when you're elected, I got to make this little side deal because it's for the greater good to get a Republican health care plan through, Obamacare. Well, the minute you start making those mini rationalizations, you're not a true progressive anymore. Of course, by the way, I want to be clear. Compromise is not a terrible thing. If Bernie Sanders becomes president, he's not going to get every single thing he wants through with the snap of his finger. He's going to have to compromise. The difference is, are we electing someone that is going to fight to the deaths before they give away the farm? Or are we electing somebody that right the minute they are elected, their tone changes, and all of a sudden, everything they propose starts getting watered down. Everything they propose, we meant something different, or the conditions on the ground have changed, and all this. And let me read a few super chats, because we've had a couple coming in. Matthew Jones, $5 in the super chat. Thank you, Matthew. YouTube won't let me give you contact info. If you have an avenue, take it. I will respond. Matthew, info@statuscoup.com. That's info@statuscoup.com. Appreciate your advice. Ruth Benedict, no relation to Benedict Arnold, $20 in the super chat. Hey, Jordan, have you been able to get in touch with Jeff Epstein yet about presenting MMT to your audience? Let me know if you need help with that. I believe Jeffrey Epstein has killed himself, so I can't get... I'm kidding. Joke. No, I have not. Tell him to email me again. Although I'm talking to Steve Grumbine about having him back on to talk MMT. Maddie Perry, $1.99. Warren is not a progressive. She's an opportunist. Joel Sass, $2. CAA and UTA collude to push Tulsi Russia agenda. Send me an email. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'd like to know more. X Morbid, $5 in the super chat. Biden is dropping in the polls. Someone please contact Joe at 30330 for assistance. Love you, Status Quo, and appreciate everything you do. That was funny. You got me there. What else do we got? Henry Lungo, $5 in the super chat. Just a suggestion, Bernie Sanders should sell cheaper booklets, pocketbooks of his 2020 plans, just as Christians do to spread gospel. It's a good idea. I'll get Bernie on speed dial and send it for you. No, I'm kidding. That's not a bad idea. Although those Christians passing out pamphlets to me before I go on the subway kind of irritate me. Not going to lie. Not because they're Christian, but because, like, leave me alone. So, Elizabeth Warren, I'll read you just a little bit more and then give you my final analysis here. The outreach is not just an effort to avoid the confrontational approach Mr. Sanders took in 2016 when he inveighed against party insiders and the committee itself, which he correctly believed was favoring Hillary Clinton. Ms. Warren is also trying to allay concerns among Democrats that as a progressive candidate proposing sweeping change, she may not have enough mainstream appeal to compete with President Trump in the general election. Most of the other White House contenders are, of course, also wooing party officials, but the more establishment-aligned candidates like former Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris of California do not face the same questions about their vision for party politics. They, of course, don't face those questions because it is known that they're corrupt. I digress. And interviews with about 24 Democrats who have been in contact with Ms. Warren reveal that her style of courtship has been unusually determined. Troy Price, the chairman of Iowa's Democratic Party, said Ms. Warren called him the day he was reelected to his post last year, immediately after the midterm elections and on the day she entered the race. Quote, all of a sudden the cell phone is ringing and it's her, not a staffer, he said. Ms. Warren's wooing could prove important should the nominating contest deadlock at the Democratic National Convention next summer. Many of the officials she is courting are the so-called, wait for it, superdelegates, who are able to cast a binding vote should the primary go beyond a first ballot. Beyond the potential electoral advantages, the relationship Ms. Warren is cultivating could prove just as powerful for symbolic purposes. So, to me, I know what the naysayers are going to say. I know that some people are going to say, Jordan, what do you want? This is how politics works. This is how the game needs to be played. You can't be a fire-breathing Game of Thrones Dothraki dragon to get elected. Bernie Sanders would have to play nice to these people. I'm not saying that Elizabeth Warren can't talk to party leaders. I'm not saying Elizabeth Warren should totally shun them. I'm not saying that even Elizabeth Warren needs to call for a revolution. I don't want her to do those things if that's not what she truly believes. If she is a capitalist down to her toes, like she says she is, then she could run on that. And let's have a debate. If it comes down to Bernie versus Elizabeth Warren, let's have a debate between Bernie, who says, no, we can't only regulate our way out of this. We can't, work within the system. We need to fundamentally blow up the system to create something much, much more focused and concentrated towards workers. But the problem I have with Elizabeth Warren is she's trying to thread the needle, and she's trying to have it both ways. Or, as my mama once said, she's trying to have her cake and eat it too. She's trying to portray herself as this person with bold ideas. And we can't, she was criticizing Biden. We can't go along to get along. We can't come with the incrementalism and this and that. Yet she's sitting down with all of the incrementalists. She's sitting down with all of the usual suspects whose DNA politically is small change is how things happen. Incrementalism is how we get things done. Politics is done a certain way. How in one breath could you be talking about we need bold structural change and then be spending half of your time when you're not taking selfies with people, which is cool, that's not a bad thing that she's doing, basically bending over backwards to get these people to endorse you? To me, that's not so genuine. To me, you're pandering. And to me, there's a difference between being willing to compromise, which I think Bernie Sanders is willing to compromise if he becomes president, and there's a difference between being willing to compromise after you have fought very hard for what you want, because there is political realities. Even if Bernie Sanders was a president with both houses of Congress that are Democrat, let's say he has the Senate under Democratic control and the House under Democratic control. It's not like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and all the corporate Democrat gang is just going to say, Bernie, we were wrong all along. We welcome you with open arms. Let's do Medicare for all. Let's do free public college. Hey, let's spend $16 trillion on a Green New Deal. No, they're Republican lights. They're going to fight him, probably not as hard as Mitch McConnell would, but pretty hard too. What Elizabeth Warren is doing right now, to me, if you follow political history, what she's doing right now is what Barack Obama did in 2007 and 2008. She is portraying herself in front of crowds as a bold reformer. Barack Obama, if you remember, talked about we need a post-partisan utopia in Washington. We need to change the way Washington works. No blue states, no red states, the United States of America. And he portrayed himself as a progressive reformer that's going to change the system. Well, while he was doing that, he was doing the same things. I have a source that told me Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton both went in front of the CEOs of the big banks, Lloyd Blankfein, Jamie Dimon, all these things. And Barack Obama, while he was pretending to be, the progressive reformer who's going to heal the earth, said, what do you need from me? And apparently they liked what Barack Obama had to say more than Hillary Clinton. And that's why Barack Obama started getting record amounts of money from Wall Street. So I don't know how Elizabeth Warren is saying she's this bold reformer while sitting there having tea with Democratic Party leaders that don't believe in Medicare for all, don't believe in free public college, don't believe in a Green New Deal, don't believe in challenging companies like Amazon, Facebook, Raytheon, Pfizer, the list goes on, and don't believe in stronger protections for labor unions, and certainly don't believe and agree with the problem in America is getting money out of politics. I'm not saying, be adversarial and be, shun them, but you're meeting with them, you're obviously not talking, you're not sitting down with them to say, hey, here's why you're wrong and you need to jump on the progressive bandwagon. She's obviously not saying those things to these people. So, some people might say, Jordan, you're naive, you live in a progressive, liberal, whatever, utopia, the way Bernie does things, where he is saying, no, I'm not here to compromise with the very people that are stifling progress. I am here to basically either put enough pressure on them through grassroots organizing that they change, or let's just get them out of office. You don't sit down with the very sources that are the problem. You don't sit down for tea and say whatever you got to say and do whatever you got to say to get their endorsements. And by the way, folks, I want you to remember that I said this. One of the most key parts of that entire article, and I don't want to give you guys reasons to be concerned, there is I would say there's more of a chance for the 2020 election than in the last 4 or 5 decades that you could see a brokered convention. You have a lot of candidates running. There might be a case where nobody gets enough pledged delegates to become the nominee outright, which will then go to the second ballot. And the superdelegates rules were changed that superdelegates vote on the second ballot. Well, what if you have, ultimately, it being broken down where Bernie Sanders gets the most delegates but doesn't meet the threshold, or Elizabeth Warren gets the most pledged delegates but doesn't meet the threshold? Well, in that case, who votes? The superdelegates, the very people that Elizabeth Warren is meeting with to have tea right now. While Bernie Sanders, instead of doing that, is going to picket with workers. He's going to strike with workers. He's going to Kentucky to put his thumb and his fist in front of Mitch McConnell, which he did yesterday. He is striking with fast food workers. He is striking with Verizon workers, while Elizabeth Warren is not doing those things. In fairness, Elizabeth Warren had, according to her campaign, had 15,000 people in Seattle yesterday. Whether you like her or not, that's impressive. She does have people very interested in her. She had, according to them, 12,000 in Minnesota. Obviously, Bernie gets big crowds too, but I'm not saying put your head in the sand. Elizabeth Warren is a legitimate threat. She is gaining momentum. She is polling higher. We don't have to be for her or against her. That's the reality. However, I think if it comes down to Elizabeth Warren versus Bernie Sanders, I think Bernie Sanders will be shown to be the authentic, consistent, and most importantly, the progressive that goes far enough and recognizes the true issue is the systemic rot in our system. You cannot overregulate. You cannot regulate your way out of this. And you cannot, honestly, you have to challenge capitalism to change the economy. You have to challenge a corrupt system if you're going to give relief to workers. And if you're going to, you have to take money out of politics if you're going to create a government that actually caters to workers. So one more reminder, we're now 1 hour away from our members call. So if you're not a Status Quo member yet, you can still sign up. statusquo.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. And if you become a member before 7:30 Eastern time, you will get the link to join us in our members call. You also get bonus content other than the members call. So you could definitely sign up if you so choose. My last topic, which I don't see anyone covering, but very, very important. The Dakota Access Pipeline, which has been in operation now for 2 years, I believe. The Dakota Access Pipeline is the parent company of the Dakota Access Pipeline is now trying to double the capacity of the Dakota Access Pipeline. They're trying to move it up so that they could carry 1.1 million barrels of oil a day, which is very, very dangerous. And frankly, most environmental experts say this pipeline doesn't have the capacity to hold that much. Obviously, the tribe, and there's still lawsuits in progress that they're trying to get the oil to stop flowing, and they want this pipeline shut down, that could still be stuck in court for years from now. As I've always said, it's very, very hard to stop or get a pipeline taken out of the ground when it's already in the ground. That's why Status Quo wants to hit the road. We want to cover the Keystone XL pipeline, which is going to have construction start at the end of this year, possibly early next year. And we want to get there to Montana, Nebraska, South Dakota, and we want to cover it now before that pipe is in the ground. Talk to tribal leaders, talk to the people on the ground, the communities that are going to be affected, because the way you help in fighting these pipelines is to wake more people up. So we would love to get there as soon as possible. That's another reason you should become a Status Quo member. So Standing Rock asked, of course, to shut down the Dakota Access Pipeline as the company plans to double capacity. The Standing Rock Sioux Tribe is asking a judge to throw out a federal permit for the Dakota Access Pipeline, arguing that the government shut the tribe out of a court-ordered second environmental review and ignored its concerns. The challenge comes as Energy Transfer, the company behind the pipeline, is now seeking to double how much oil the pipeline can carry. The Dakota Access Pipeline passes under the Missouri River, the tribe's water supply, just upstream from the Standing Rock Reservation. The Army Corps of Engineers, quote, never engaged with the tribe or its technical experts, shared critical information, or responded to the tribe's concerns, the tribe writes in a legal motion filed Friday in federal court. The result is an irretrievably flawed decision developed through a process that fell far short of legal standards. With DAPL's proposal to double the flow of the pipeline, the unexamined risks to the tribe continue to grow. The motion is the latest volley in a lawsuit first filed by the tribe against the Corps over its permitting of the controversial pipeline in 2016. Standing Rock won a partial victory in 2017 when a federal court determined that the Army Corps' initial environmental review for DAPL did not adequately address the impact of a potential spill would have on the tribe. The judge ordered the Army Corps to go back and do a thorough environmental assessment, saying the court expects the Corps not to treat remand as an exercise in filing out the proper paperwork. The Army Corps completed the remand process in August of 2018, saying that it did not find any significant new circumstances or information relevant to environmental concerns. Of course, they did not. But now, the greater threat is Energy Transfer is now trying to double the capacity of oil flowing through this pipeline. The pipeline's construction spurred months of protests and hundreds of arrests, as obviously I was there for a lot of that. The 1,172-mile pipeline from North Dakota to Illinois has had at least, keyword, at least 10 spills, totaling hundreds of gallons of crude oil since it began operations in June 2017. The latest in a years-long legal challenge by the tribe comes less than 2 months after Dakota Access, a subsidiary of Energy Transfer, notified North Dakota's Public Service Commission that it seeks to double the amount of crude oil it could ship through Dakota Access Pipeline to 1.1 million barrels a day. The company's June 20th request to optimize its pipeline considered local impacts of building a new pumping station, such as erosion and dust control during construction of the facility. It did not, however, consider the impacts of a potential spill from a pipeline shipping twice the volume of oil compared to its original permits. So, bottom line, the same scummy oil company that, and by the way, I want to be clear, most environmentalists, most experts, most mechanical engineers would disagree with there's only been 10 spills from the Dakota Access Pipeline. Most of these spills are not detected. A lot of these spills could be minor spills, but a spill is a spill, and we don't know if those spills are happening in the Missouri River, because that pipe is 90 feet under the Missouri River, but you could have minor spills that are not being detected. So they could say all they want, 10 spills, there's a very good chance it's more than 10 spills. So, to me, the biggest part of this is connected to the presidential election, because don't think that a President Biden is going to demand that the oil stop flowing in the Dakota Access Pipeline. Do not think that a President Harris is going to do anything on Dakota Access Pipeline or the Keystone XL pipeline. Their donors won't allow it. Their Wall Street donors that are heavily invested in these pipelines will not allow it. That's Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, whatever other financial companies are invested. And by the way, I'm not positive that Elizabeth Warren, as president, would do anything about the Dakota Access Pipeline, Keystone XL pipeline, or other pipelines. As far as I know, I've read her environmental plan. I don't hear anything about fracking. The only candidates that have called for a ban on fracking are Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard, who, by the way, is also being screwed out of appearing in this next presidential debate, which we'll cover at some point this week. So they want to, not only was building this pipeline in the first place totally reckless, not only did they just stomp all over the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, by the way. Not only did they totally disregard environmental concerns, their water, Missouri River is their water source, their sacred land, their burial sites, because they don't care. It's just native people. What do they give a shit? Now, they want to double the capacity to 1.1 million barrels of oil per day without any study if the pipeline could safely carry that much oil. There's already been 10 spills, on record, 10 spills with the capacity, with the oil flowing. That is true. Elizabeth Warren didn't say a damn word about Standing Rock. And now she has a plan for the Native Americans of America. Please. So this is scary stuff, because if they double capacity without doing proper testing, and none of these tests, environmental reviews are not thorough. And by the way, if Trump is president, they could do all the studies they want. Trump don't care. I give you Trump literally saying, let's just nuke the hurricanes. Yeah. Trump was telling his administration officials, why don't we just nuke the hurricanes to stop them? This is a man that doesn't understand the difference between climate and weather. This is the man that doesn't understand fracking. He doesn't understand the damage that he is doing to this country and this world. And by the way, I'm just telling you flat out, folks. Flat out. You might not like it. Donald Trump's recklessness on the environment is probably the main reason that I would even bring myself to think about voting for a corporate Democrat. Because Donald Trump is so reckless on the environment, and you give him another 4 years, forget the Amazon, folks. The whole world is in peril if this man is setting the environmental agenda. And America does set the environmental agenda. But that's for another day. The Dakota Access Pipeline is one of the most dangerous pipelines in America, and we have thousands of pipelines. It is through the longest river in America that services 20 million people's drinking water. It is not safe as is. It is not safe. They are not reporting all spills. And now they want to double the capacity. Iceberg right ahead. So this week, in addition to other things, I'm going to try to get an interview with somebody from the tribe, somebody from the Lakota Law Project who is suing over this. so we could get the Native Americans' point of view and get their voice out for this very, very disturbing thing. The hearing has been set for November on doubling the capacity of the Dakota Access Pipeline. I forget where it is, but it's in November. If status quo grows, if status quo keeps growing, we keep growing our membership. Hint, hint, we have 500 of you watching right now. We are at 702 status quo members. You can become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. This is what helps us get funded. This is what helps us have recurring money coming in so that we could keep on going out in the field. I'm healing my back right now so I could get out there and stay out there. And of course, as we grow our membership, our goal is to hire another full-time reporter so we could build a network. And it's not just me in the field. It could be that reporter in the field, Jen in the field, and of course, me. And I'll be in the field soon enough. I'm just trying to heal my back. So become a member, statusquo.com/join. It's way, way better than a cup of coffee or a sandwich. So that's it, folks. As a reminder, we have our members call in less than an hour. So if you are a member or a patron, includes our patrons, you'll get an invite to join us. It's through Zoom. It's a lot of fun. And I'm ready to go. I got to hydrate because my voice is a little hoarse at the moment. Jen will be on too. Again, sign up. If you sign up before 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, you will be invited to the call. And I will see you tomorrow back here, 5 o'clock Eastern time. Sorry we've been a little late, but we're using some new technical things to beef up the production. Ty, he's not working here anymore, but he is still living with me and has been nice enough to help with the graphic behind me and some other things. So thank you. I like the graphic, and we're going to try and beef it up as much as we can. Thank you for the super chats. Oh, I totally forgot. I didn't say this at the beginning. Shame on me. We are now, how much are we? Hold on. Doo-doo-doo. We are now just under $200 from $68,000 in the GoFundMe. Raised a couple $100 yesterday. So if there is a wonderful, wonderful patriot watching, or somebody from around the world that wants to drop whatever money is needed to get to that 68,000, oh, I'll be in such a better mood. 68,000 would be nice. And that would bring us to $22,000 away from our ultimate goal of 85,000. So thank you, thank you. And we are also just 5 donors away from hitting 1,500 total donors for our GoFundMe. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. And for those that are members, I will see you in a little bit. Remember, most people are not lacking compassion in this corporation known as a country. Most people have no idea what the hell is going on. Peace.